Hey all, hello and welcome, Tony Bing here. So for this Marvel Heroes Omega video we will be running through the Cosmic Trial with a freshly levelled Captain America. So freshly levelled means I don't have a legendary, don't have any special boss artifacts or modifications, and also I simply have super heroic gear. Now the whole idea behind this video is to help any players that have just recently levelled up Cap and want to push through and get into the cosmic difficulty as soon as possible so they can start farming that cosmic gear. So hopefully this video will help in that respect. Now what we'll do at the start is we'll cover the skills and talents I'll use. Once we've done that, we'll then do the actual Cosmic Trial gameplay, and then finishing up I'll show off the gear we've used as well. But first up, let's have a look at the skills and talents we're using here. Skill wise here, as always, we avoid any kind of spender and we're just using our cooldown and utility skills. So the first skill we're using, which is great for getting in the enemy's faces, airborne assault. So you leap up and smash down doing a large damage packet, and also you've got the 10% vulnerability on it. We then have, let's see, so many different shields here, it's hard to see. We then follow that up with torqued shield throw, and this will stun the enemy for 2 seconds. Now next up we use Patriotic Taunt. Now I really struggled with survivability on Cap, but this taunt will actually weaken the enemy, and through talents it gives us the rapid healing buff as well, and we'll look at that in just a moment, but it's an incredible buff for survivability. Now the next damage skill we have is Meteor Kick. So this is great, it does a whole lot of damage and it allows you to close in on the enemy, and if you have more than a certain amount of serum you can actually use it as an execute as well. We then have, let's see, another shield one down here. We have Shield Bash. So with this particular one I generally find after I've used Meteor Kick with the talents I'm using, I can fire this off twice, so it does a nice amount of single target damage. And then we have Shield Bounce. This bounces between the enemies, and through talents, if we wish, we can have this set up so it adds an additional dot, which is always useful in the trial. Now final skill we look at is Star Spangled Strike. So this one restores 50% of your max spirit, and it is pretty important because you will be running dry on spirit if you don't use this regularly, so make sure you use it as soon as it's up. It actually knocks down the enemy for 4 seconds, and it gives you a huge damage buff as well, so it really is a fantastic signature. But what we'll do next is we'll have a look at the talents we would use. The first talent we look at here then is Defensive Stance. Now although we don't make use of the shield strike damage, we make use of the 5% flat deflect chance it offers because we'll regularly be using cooldown powers with this setup. We then have Impenetrable. With this, Indestructible Shield, which is a great skill, however we don't have space on our bar for it because we need all our other skills to keep our damage levels up, becomes a passive and it automatically activates when you fall below 30% health, so that's really useful. We then have Coordinated Strikes, and what this does is when we use Airborne Assault and then follow up with Torque Shield Throw will deal an additional 50% damage. We then have Stabilized Serum. This makes the setup nice and simple, we don't have to worry about balancing serum at all. So serum is removed, cooldown power damage goes up by 10%, and cooldown reduction of skills is brought down by 25%. Now finally, this particular talent is exceptionally important to make Cap relatively tanky, and it's Vigilance. So it applies Guarded, which means you gain 10% base health, regen 1% of max health per second, and when you use Patriotic Taunt you gain rapid healing, so you regen 20% of max health a second for 3 seconds, and it's got a low cooldown Patriotic Taunt as well, so you will consistently be regaining health, and this it really does help out a lot. I can't emphasise that enough. Now that we've covered the skills and talents anyway, what we'll do is we'll do the Cosmic Trial gameplay, and then once we complete that I'll show off the gear we've used as well.
Sorry, can't do it. I'm sure Tony can pay for that. that up to collateral damage.
I can't hold out. Gotta fight through to the end.
I've never really cared for jewelry, and you're not really changing my mind.
American fool. Feel the mantle bow.
I can't do that.
So many ways to hurt you. This cannot be.
I guess you aren't used to someone who fights back. Sorry, can't do it. feet.
There we go, that was a nice skill to finish off at the end there, the signature slamming down on him. So we could see the heal that I mentioned earlier on in the video was exceptionally important. Gear wise, just simply a heroic catalyst, heroic boots, super heroic for the rest of the gear, and just regular story artifacts. But we managed to get there, we managed to get through it. So as always, I hope this video was useful. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see you all again soon.